What is up, guys? It is Ozzy from OzTalksHW, and today I'm going to do my budget builds of the month. And for those of you who are new, these are budget builds for the month of September from $300 all the way up to $600. So I have 4 different builds for you guys. So without any further ado, let's get into the build. Now for the $300 computer, I have the Celeron G1840 CPU. It is a dual core clocked at 2.6 gigahertz, and this is based on the Haswell architecture, so you can upgrade to a better processor like an i5 or an i7 down the line. With this, I have a BioStar motherboard, and I basically just picked the cheapest one that was somewhat reliable. And BioStar, even though they have lower ratings than other companies, they're still a pretty reliable brand. Now for the RAM, I went for 8 gigabytes of DDR3 memory. I did not try to differentiate between dual channel and single channel. I just went for the cheapest RAM I could find, and as of right now, it is the Mushkin 8 gigabyte module for about $31. For the storage, I have a 320 gigabyte Seagate hard drive and it has 5900 RPM. Now you can get a 500 gigabyte hard drive for about $8 more, but I decided not to put that on this build simply because I would be over the budget by about 15 to 20 bucks. But if you guys want to add that in, you can definitely do that yourself. Now this is a bit slower than I would like, but again, it's only 26 bucks, so I decided to put it in there. For the video card, we have the RX 460. Now this is probably the best budget video card that you can get right now for about $100. It does beat out its competition like the 750 Ti, and it performs closer to a GTX 950. So for only 110 bucks right now, it's a pretty good deal. For the power supply, I went with EVGA. It is 430 watts and it is rated at 80 plus certified, so you'll be good to go. This build in total will only use about 200 to 220 watts, but again, if you want to upgrade, you have the option to do so with this power supply. As for the case, I just went with one of the cheapest options I could find that still looked kind of cool, and that was the Roswell Ranger M Micro ATX case. Now the $400 computer build for this series is pretty similar to the $300 one. The only things that I'm changing are the power supply, the storage, and the video card. So pretty much transfer everything from the $300 part of the video over to the $400, except for those things noted. Now for the storage, I upgraded it to the 500 gigabyte hard drive that I was talking about in the $300 part of this video. This is a 500 gigabyte hard drive. I'm not sure what the company is, but it's a good company and it's about $35 shipped. Now for the power supply, we have the 500 watt version of the EVGA power supply that I had in the $300 build. Now this gives you a little bit of an edge in upgradability. You won't use the extra 70 watts pretty much at all, but if you do want to upgrade, you have a better chance of upgrading to higher end parts that use up more watts. As for the video card, we have the RX 470 from PowerColor. Now this can give you GTX 970 to RX 480 speeds if you overclock it well enough, but other than that, even at stock, it's about 10 to 15% slower than the 970 and the RX 480, but it's under $200 and it fits really well into the budget. So this is a great card for the $400 system. Now in this $500 build, we will be keeping the same power supply and the same video card, but we will be changing everything else. Now for the CPU, I went with the i3-6100, and this is basically a dual core, but it can act like a quad core in things like games because of Intel's hyperthreading. So it's a pretty solid CPU choice, and you have great expandability. You can go up to the highest tier i7s that are supported on the LGA 1151 socket. Now as for the RAM, I went with dual channel this time, and it's DDR4 memory. I pretty much went with the cheapest dual channel DDR4 memory I could get, and I believe it is G-Skill, a 2x4 gigabyte kit. As for the motherboard, I basically again went with the cheapest motherboard that I could fit into this budget, and it was the ASRock H10M. This supports DDR4. It has everything that you would need for a basic motherboard, and ASRock is pretty reliable, so you have nothing to worry about. Plus, it's under 60 bucks, so that works out really well. As for the hard drive, I went with the standard 1 terabyte hard drive. I found the cheapest one that I could find, and that was Hitachi. Hitachi is pretty reliable as well, so you have no problem there, and it's about $42 shipped. When it comes to the case, I went with the Enermax Thorax. Now, I do not believe it has USB 3.0, which is a downside for a case in 2016, but that's not a huge deal, and if you want something with USB 3.0, you can get another case alternative for about the same price. And lastly, for the $600 computer, everything from the $500 build will be the same except for the CPU and the video card. Now, as for the CPU goes, I went with the cheapest Skylake i5, which is the i5-6400. Now, if you can overclock this by using the previous BIOS versions of your motherboard, you can do so. But if you can't, it's still a pretty solid CPU. Now, it won't perform as well as maybe an overclocked i5-6600K, but for the price, it's the best that you can do. And lastly, it comes down to the video card. Right now on the list, I have an RX 480. I pretty much went for the cheapest version I could find. I could have gotten a 4GB version, but the 8GB version was about $5 to $10 more. And so I decided that it's better for me to just double the VRAM and spend a little bit more money. Now, here is the discrepancy here. The RX 480 and the 1060 are pretty similar. The 1060 beats the RX 480 in DirectX 11 titles mostly, and the RX 480 wins in DirectX 12 and Vulkan titles. So the choice of the video card is up to you. They're about the same price. They perform similarly to each other. It's not a noticeable difference. So you pretty much choose whichever one you want. I would go for the cheapest one so you can fit in your budget, but if you happen to prefer NVIDIA Shadowplay, or if you happen to prefer the Catalyst Control Center and Wattman, then go AMD. If you want Shadowplay, like I already said, go NVIDIA. So it just really depends on what you want. But yeah, that's it for the $600 computer. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the budget builds that I have here, and I hope they were very helpful. If you have any questions about them, just leave them in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them as soon as I can. I have some cool stuff coming up. If you haven't noticed, I have some stuff back there that I will be using in future videos, and some stuff in my closet that I will also be using for future videos. So it's good to be back making videos, and thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.